Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome to ABIS chat. We want to say very big welcome to you, whatever village, whatever town, whatever city, whatever continent, whatever part of the world you're watching this from. We want to say good evening, happy Sunday. Trust you're doing fine. Trust you had a wonderful week. Trust everything is going fine at your hand, just as it's going fine at our hand. We bless God for today, and it's an honor to always be back on Have This Chat. We give God the glory for how far He has helped us thus far, this far, and we know that tonight will also be a wonderful one. And I know that as you're going to be watching this, you're going to be blessed, whether now or you're watching it later. Welcome once again. It's a joy, it's an honor to always be here. Thank you. I see you, Ma. Our guest is here, so I will bring them up anytime soon. And we know that tonight is going to be a wonderful program. Like we always do on Have This Chat, we always like to start with a word of prayer. If you don't mind, can we just share a word of prayer together? Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for how far you've helped us. Thank you for a wonderful week. Thank you for our guests. Thank you for the topic we'll be speaking tonight. Father, we pray that tonight that you take the glory, that you use our guests for your glory, that you speak to us through them. And the discussion tonight will be a blessing to marriages out there, to both the married, the engaged, even the singles, that they will learn and each family will be blessed. That each one that will tune into this right now or later will be blessed, and that your name will be glorified. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay. Welcome to ABIS Chat. Good to have you. I see our guests here, so they're going to be coming up anytime soon. Welcome to ABIS Chat. Like we always do, we always like to say big congratulations to everyone that had a wonderful success this past week. Those who got married, those who had the new baby, those who got promotion, those who got open doors for. We want to say congratulations. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. And to those who had a very tough time this week, those who lost one person, they lost a family member, to those who lost their job, to those who encountered I'm going to bring you up soon. Thank you. To those who had a very tough week, we want to say we're sorry. On behalf of the ABIS Chat team, we sympathize with you, and we pray that God will keep, will comfort the family and keep you safe. If you stumbled on this video and you're watching, what's this ABIS Chat about? ABIS Chat is a platform whereby we discuss. It's from an acronym, ABIS. ABIS. The A means adversity, the B means blessing, and the highest means inspiration. The A, which is adversity, just basically talks about the fact that in life, we all going through one thing or the other. Adversity are the challenges of life that we all go through. So whether you're young or old, we're all going through something, and those challenges of life are meant to be. As humans, we all go through phases of life. So whatever you're going through, please, you're not alone. We want to assure you that you're going to come out stronger and better as long as you hold on to God. The B part means is the blessing. Every adversity, which is every challenge, we always end in a blessing as long as we hang on and as long as we hold on. And the highest part is inspiration. The inspirations are the lessons of life that we learn as we move from our tough moment to our moment of blessing. So that's what ABIS is about. We bring guests who come share their experience to encourage us that if they have been through it and they've survived, that we too can go and we can survive it. Fortunately, tonight we're having guests, and tonight we're going to be starting a wonderful series. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to be having guests that will be coming to speak about marriage to us. We're going to be focusing on touching different issues of marriage, and tonight we're going to be talking about communication in marriage. Communication in marriage. Every marriage to succeed needs communication, needs good communication. Any relationship to succeed needs good communication, and that's why we brought this couple tonight. To me, they're like a dad and mom to me, and I know that tonight we're going to be blessed tonight. They join me as I invite Mr. and Mrs. Zakreski. They'll be coming in soon, and we're going to be starting once we have them here.
Hi.
Hello, Dad and Mom. Good evening.
Nice to be here, Abadan.
Oh, wonderful. Nice to have you here. So glad. So happy. Wow. Good evening. Welcome to ABIS chat.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Wow. I'm still trying to process it that yes, we'll have you here finally. We've been looking forward to this and good we're here to make it work.
And
So tonight,
we're honored.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hope you can hear me clearly, sir, man.
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. So tonight, we're starting a wonderful series on ABIS chat, and we are so honored to have you as our first guest on this couple series, which will be going on for the next few weeks. And I think tonight is one of the center point that ties the whole discussion together of married couples. And tonight we're talking about communication in marriage, and looking at both of you, at least the time we spent together, I've seen, okay, these are great. They communicate well. From what from the little I know, from the little I know. So I know. So I know you'll be one of the best. Having your experience sharing with us will be a wonderful, 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 great opportunity on ABIS chat. So Sanma, the floor is over to you now. Okay. I don't know, maybe I ask the question and we go like that. Asa, what is communication in marriage? What is it literally? Because, if we want to exhaust it, we need to know what exactly it is. What is communication in marriage to you, Sahanma? How can you define that for us?
Well, one of the things that we've come to discover, and we've talked about this many, many times, is that you cannot not communicate. The obvious is that your facial expressions, your body language, the words you use, the tone, all those things influence that thing we call communication. And communication is all about just transmitting that message back and forth to each other so that we understand. And I would be remiss if I said I understood everything my wife said, and the same thing, some of the things I say to her, she doesn't understand either.
I thought you said, but you didn't. Oh, so it's very important to get that 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 perception check a lot of times, because it's easily, even though you're in a relationship for us it's been 42 years, even though you're in that relationship, whether it's a young relationship or an older relationship, you need that perception check, because I may miscommunicate, or I may be thinking about something else at the time, and that pushes me in a different direction, that I don't get the communication that Gord's looking towards telling me, or it may be a situation coming from work, from our children, elsewhere, that clouds the actual communication that we're putting forward. So I think a perception check is always a very important thing to do. And then always that gentleness, that, well, give the other person that breath and that openness to uh, when you're communicating, just that space to allow them to communicate. And Gord's so good at that, because I can be the one that's I do need more space when I'm communicating. He just has to be the more patient one in the relationship, because I'm the one that can be how would I put it, more easily swayed or emotionally just in the emotional moment, and he just has to be patient with it, especially when we work with technology, for example, and we're doing something with technology and it's so new to me, and I'm constantly asking him questions about it, and he is so patient about, okay, this means this, and well, what do you mean that means that, and so he just takes the time to listen, and it's that constant breath and 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 coming back to, did you understand me? I think.
That's a critical piece, not only the perception check, but at the same time, Gwen's a very good listener. And as a listener, she'll wait till I'm expressing the comment, the phrase, the opportunity to communicate whatever that message is, and then, okay, let's continue on. And part of that also is engagement. I mean, you can do this with, we did this with our children. One of the things we found is that if they're watching TV and we're speaking to them, it doesn't work. You have to shut the TV off and then, oh yeah, okay, now I hear you. As compared to, oh yeah, What did I do? And one time I said to one of our sons, so what did I say? I said, no, I didn't say I was giving you instructions. And then it's that perception check.
And it's that presence to each other's in any relationship. If you really want to get to know the person, you need to have that presence, that ongoing presence, I think.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. You know, you've touched a whole lot of things which we're going to be coming back to: perception, the presence, the gentleness to be able to listen to the other person, and you know, that ability to be able to communicate well. You know, you said something which we're going to be coming back to some of those things. But before we go further, I would like to say, wow, 42 years, that is a long time. How
quickly? We want 42 more.
Oh, wow, 42 more. Wonderful. Wonderful. Wow, I celebrate that. That's 4 decades.
Yes.
And now, in 42 years, how would you say communication, how much important is communication in that 42 years has been for you? What you know, because you know, communication is easier said, but what importance, what value has it played in that 42 years for both of you? Because if we know that how valuable it has been, it will help us to, you know, okay, have some perspective on why you've been able to stand this long for 42 years. Communication, has it played any role? Is it light? Has it been light? Is it something that, okay, it's just by the way? Or how much, what the question is, how much has communication played in ensuring that your journey for the past 42 years has been really successful?
It's a critical piece. I mean, it's a critical piece right across the full spectrum. Everything from I think one could look at one's background saying, my wife's, the home she grew up in is a different home that I grew up in. And yet at the same time, we've come together, and together we've been able to communicate with my wife's parents and family, and we've been able to communicate with my parents and family. And in that communication, there's also some obvious things. One of the things for sure is culture. I'm from my father was Polish, my mother's Ukrainian, and my first language when I was growing up was Ukrainian. So I had to be taught English before I went to school. And there are still occasions where Gwen is very respectful, where my parents would want to speak with me in Ukrainian because they want to express themselves, and they would expect that I would respond to them. And it's in that discussion that, you know, there's been times where, let's say at Christmas, at the Christmas dinner, my father would say, I need to say something, and he would say a certain prayer or a certain greeting in either Polish or Ukrainian, and he would say to us children, now tell your spouses and partners what I said. And it's in that light. And yet at the same time, you know, Gwen has been respectful, saying, yes, please go ahead. She doesn't feel excluded. She doesn't feel like we're talking about her. It's all about the cultural background, if you will. Now, in your household, it was a little bit different.
Yeah, and your household has totally enriched me in that sense, that there, like I never was or felt left out. I feel that sometimes people could think that Gordon and I are joined at the hip because of the way we communicate to each other. We have a very succinct communication. It's very rare that we don't know where the other is. within range. Whereas we've got a son and his husband who that's not a big deal to them. Like they kind of, it's their own separates. They're much more independent than we've ever been. And so that's been a thing of our communication. But I think I also am very professionally and with our family, I can hold my own with the communication, but we're very tight together in our communication. I think part of that might be from in my home, my mom and dad were very parallel lines. When it came to big decisions, they made those big decisions together. Gord's family was very joined between his mom and dad, but his mom didn't have as much of a leadership piece. And so I think for Gord and I, it's maybe it didn't start that way, but it's become very much that symbol of the wedding rings where two are joined together, each independent, but two together. And I think we've been blessed to be able to do that. And we've also sought out opportunities to keep that alive in our marriage. And I believe, Abby, that's you were so welcoming to invite us in, and an area in our life that's very important is marriage. So there you are giving us that blessing where we can, after 42 years, reaffirm our marriage right here with you. And so that's really a beautiful piece in my life and in our life right now. So thank you for that gift.
No, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome, and thank you. Because when we see successful couples like yours, it's worth celebrating. Because when you see younger couples of nowadays, you see a lot of couples didn't even stay up to 10 years, and they're already separated already, and now you are more than 4 decades. I clap for you. Thank you so much. That's a good example. I want to be like you.
It's people around us. It's great.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, communication. Another question is this: how much should you communicate? Is it everything? Should we keep? Are there things you should keep from your partners? Are there things that you need to hold back? Because if communication is, transferring, trying to share information with the other party, and it's two different people coming together to be one, and you said it's even the scripture, the Bible says, can two work together except that they agree? How much should we disclose? How much should you communicate to your partner? Is there a certain restriction? Is there a limit? Or should you communicate everything? In your journey, how has that played out?
Well, I think that in the journey, there's always things that come forward that Gwen will share with me about some of her childhood or some of her experiences that I didn't know about, and vice versa. And in that conversation, it's an ongoing discussion. And in that discussion, there's that invitation that if there's something you want to know about my past, or some of my experiences or my upbringing and so on, is that open invitation. And I don't feel threatened or uncomfortable about the question. In fact, I get the feeling that I'd like to welcome the question, and the same thing I hear from Gwen is that, yeah, ask the question, and I'll give you a response. And in that response, some of those responses are, of course, easier than others. There are many experiences in life that we have in our background that, of course, we want to acknowledge them and we want to celebrate them. At the same time, there are times where there are difficult subjects to talk about. One that comes to mind is that I had a cousin who, within the first year of her marriage, she had her husband pass on in a car accident, and it impacted the family really, really greatly. And even till today, she has some side effects from that crash that she's remarried very successfully and had children and has a wonderful family and husband, but she still is getting over that initial impact. And that's a difficult one to talk about. But at the same time, it was an experience that we had. And it's better, I feel, to talk about it than not to talk about it, because it's part of my background. And sooner or later, you know, whether we're in conversation with family and friends, the subject may come up, and I might as well be clear and upfront about what happened, as compared to, oh yeah, we don't talk about that. No, we do.
Yeah, and I think in a relationship, it's very important to acknowledge that each person is a separate person, and we all handle those, I guess, those pieces in our life in an extroverted way, an introverted way, and some of those pieces are just faith pieces that I might choose to keep as part of my faith, and a relationship um, with God, with family. Like there's pieces right now that my dad just passed away a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and Gord's been so understanding, but he doesn't definitely. I don't share all my thoughts and feelings about that. That's kind of like personal to me, and I keep that personal to me because I don't think it contributes to our relationship or it detracts from our relationship. It it makes me stronger as a person, and then I can be a more whole person that way too. And so um, it's just, yeah, I don't know if that puts clarity to that situation, but yeah, it's just, although I say we communicate a lot, and people may think we're joined at the hip, we're just like, no, we're still individual people. We still have our own um, pieces that are kind of um, interesting mystery about us. So,
In addition to that, to your earlier question, Abby, with regards to any restrictions or limitations and so on, um, I may not be that forthcoming to saying, you know what, while I was at work today, I decided to go and have a fresh muffin from the restaurant around the corner called Tangerine, and I'm supposed to be on a diet, but I may not be that forthright
no, you
coming.
didn't eat my muffin.
I may not be that forthright to saying I had an extra muffin today. At the same time, yeah, there are some things that are, I guess, in my mind, are less significant as compared to other times, and uh, it's in those experiences that you think about and saying, do you remember when? Well, no, I don't remember when, but at the same time, they did happen, and we draw from those experiences, and whether it be in our faith, whether it be our personal growth and development, whether it be something that our children experience, because at one time, about communication, I used to say to family and friends, if you're ever wanting children, I rent ours out. So if you ever want kids, I've got two that I can, and I even to the point where when they had their drivers and had their own vehicles, they can even deliver it. I mean, they can show up at your house, and away they go. So it's an ongoing thing. And I mean, in that discussion, it's the same thing with our children. There's one of our friends told us one time, you care about your child, you want to know your child is doing okay, but sometimes it's even better that you don't know some of the things that they've experienced, because there's probably a reason why they didn't tell you, and it's okay. And if you have to come back to it in the future, you will. And if you don't have to, it's all right. Um, you know, while they were in grade school, they did this, that, or whatever. I think it's okay. And if we need to come back in the future, we will. And if we don't, that's all right.
Okay, what's the secret you can't keep it from me about the boys?
Well,
I thought I knew all of that.
where do you want me to begin? How about mother? How many?
Wow.
Same ones mother keeps saying.
I was gonna say, mother keeps how many secrets that I don't know about.
Thank you so much. Now, now we're going more practical now. Now, in your journey as a couple, looking at you now, it seems you have not had any misunderstanding. Like, you've not had any moment where you had miscommunication. Um,
That's a myth.
from looking at you,
That's a myth.
that's why I
Okay,
said we're going
John,
practical now.
you only live a few blocks away. Some days you might have heard us.
So
So,
now let okay. Well, now let's go into some of. Can you give us about maybe two or three examples of mis the miscommunication moment whereby there was miscommunication, and how did you handle it? Because one is because the practicality will help people listening to us right now. If you can remember about two or three, maybe when you just got married newly, or even over the years, moments that you knew that this was a result of miscommunication, and what are the practical steps that you implemented in addressing that issue? Because sometimes the problem is not even the issue, sometimes it's how those misunderstandings, those miscommunication are handled, that could be a problem. For example, some situations could just be, oh, maybe an apology would have gone a long way to settle it, and that would have been it. But there you see the two parties trying to claim a right. Yeah, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, and there this situation explodes and escalates. Can you give us some examples of some moments that you've had miscommunication, and how did you handle it? We want to learn from your experience.
okay. Um, I can think of one. I'm not sure why we were working in the basement, but we really got at odds with each other. And that's rarely happened, but both of us were extremely angry. And so at that point, what I tend to do is I walk away. And that doesn't sit well with Gord, because when I walk away, that's give me my space, leave me, just I need to go now. I need to exit. And at that point in time, it didn't go well with him. And so it was a really difficult, um, that was a difficult situation for you. I don't know if you recall that one. And so how did we get past that? I think it was that, just that temporary period of separation. And it wasn't like separation out of the house. It was just like that 10 or 15-minute break in time. But
Mm,
we never let it go on for long periods of time. It would be that shorter period of time. It's kind of the thing I remember hearing in our marriage prep was never go to bed angry. And
mm,
times that we've been angry to go to bed has maybe been, I could count two, where it just like, no, you couldn't get to a good place. And even if we were like back and forth at each other before we went to sleep, we'd come to a consensus,
Yep.
and so there was, so that's how I think I work it out. I would move away from the situation as best as I could if I got to that real frustration point.
I,
so mom, from sorry, just can I would send you another invite. I think the screen is kind of muffled up. I don't know why it's kind of freezing. So I will hand it and send you another invite. So we'll continue from there. Just a minute. I can't even see where to hand it. Let's see. Okay, I think we'll just continue. I could. Okay, we'll just continue. I couldn't see where to do that.
oh, don't you?
No, you shared. So before you continue, mom shared something now, and I would like to see how practical is that. You said you make sure that you don't go to bed hungry.
No,
That
angry.
is so angry. So practically you settle every issue before you go to bed.
No,
No.
the issue is not resolved, Abby. It's just that we agreed
Okay.
almost, and maybe this is my understanding, we almost take a timeout and saying, okay, let's just leave it. Let's get a good night's sleep, and we can talk about this tomorrow and pick it up from there, as compared to think we're going to deal with it all night long, because it doesn't get anywhere. Is that what you meant?
Well, yes, that's part of it. But typically we wouldn't get, like, the anger piece never lasted a long time. And maybe we were just fortunate that way. Maybe we were blessed that way. I don't really, do you recall where?
No, but I think that it's fair to say that there are times where I speak for myself. There are times that the emotions get in the way. It's not the issue; it's the emotions. And I would
Yes, sir.
I would be remiss if I didn't say there's that temptation for me to always be right. I've got to be right. At the same time, I think it's also part of the equation to acknowledge that if I'm not right, I'm not right, and that's okay. Because even though I'm emotionally engaged, and this is very important to me, and then all of a sudden I recognize that, you know what, I'm not right. But in my emotions are that, I think I'm right, and I'm not.
Yeah.
And it's having that open mind and not have the emotions cloud into the conversation.
Yeah, so you
Yes, sir. So,
back, and
go ahead, ma'am.
I'm not sure that we've helped you in that sense about if there was a time.
Oh yeah, we're still coming to that. You're still coming to that. I see you're bringing out some valuable points that I just trying to let you elaborate on, so that because it's in between those points that we get to the lessons that you're trying to tell us. For example, Dad mentioned something I picked just now. It said emotions and the situation. Emotions and situation, meaning that sometimes we get overly consumed by the emotion rather than the issue at hand itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another question I would like to ask. How do you balance your emotions with the issue? Sorry, we're going back to that question, but how do we balance that emotion and the issue so that we would not to avoid miscommunication in between? For example, like Dad said, okay, there's this tendency for us to always want to claim I'm right. And for the other party, is like, no, you're not right. So when you want to claim you're right and the other person see you're not right, there's going to be a miscommunication, meaning that the emotion has overweighed the issue at hand. Sometimes issues that cause problem, that cause miscommunication, sometimes parties leave the issue and they face each other. I don't know if I'm explaining some of what you're saying. It's the fact that couples, they leave that the main issue that they need to just settle. For example, it might just be something minor that everybody will just get over it and okay, sorry, we'll settle it there. But emotions comes in and it explodes. How do we balance our emotions, and the issues so that we would not have a miscommunication that explodes the issue?
Good question. One of the things that I'm drawn to is what Gwen said earlier, is that perception check. Saying, did I hear you say, do I understand you to say that, an easy example is we decided that we were going to have a barbecue tonight, okay? Did I not understand that you said we're having a barbecue tonight? And then, no, we're not having a barbecue. Well, why aren't we having a barbecue? I was looking forward to this barbecue all day. What happened to that barbecue? And for me, it's the opportunity to say to Gwen, has something changed that we're not having the barbecue? Or is the barbecue not working? Or why are we not having the barbecue? So I'm looking for that clarity. And it's in that context that I think, for me, diffuses some of those emotions, because it may be the barbecue is not working. I thought we had pork chops in the freezer. We didn't have any, and so on and so on. So it's nobody's fault, but at the same time, I'm still expecting barbecued pork chops for supper. So I'm looking for that clarity. And even though I might be disappointed, I can understand that, oh, I understand we don't have pork chops in the freezer, so how can I barbecue pork chops? It's over. Or, you know what, there are pork chops, but there's no propane for the barbecue. Somebody forgot. I think Gord forgot to go get propane. Well, whose fault is it now? And so on and so on. I think it's in that context of understanding what's going on in that clarity that I think, for me anyways, gets a little bit clouded, and it leads to that miscommunication.
And it's
Wow.
part of it's I think for me it's a natural sense. Like I think I've gotten to know Gord fairly well to know when it's throwing that equilibrium off a little bit, and balance and emotion.
Well, and while Gwen is pondering on that, I would also say that there are many things that will influence that. For me personally, having a good night's sleep will influence that. Along with that, you know, if I'm not feeling well, will influence that. There are some people, I used to work with a colleague that he was unfortunately impacted by a seasonal disorder. So on cloudy days, he would find it really difficult. On sunny days, he'd be a lot better. So all those things contributed to that whole communication process. And, you know, it's like anything else. You know, how can I express that I'm enjoying my day and having a really good day when one of our children is having some difficulties? And, you know, how can I not be in solidarity with them and understanding and caring and ignore all of that? It's the whole person who is involved in the process. Nutrition,
Yeah, and you're
rest.
really good. You're really good with that too, because you always, you know, you've got that feel out there that, okay, who's having the difficulty now? How can I work with that difficulty? Like you're very perceptive of that.
And one of the things that Gwen's,
So that mitigates a lot of the conflict that could happen.
along with that, as you get into the conversation, Gwen's very good about saying, so how is this helpful? You know, is it I'm just angry and want to retaliate at the person that's impacted me? Or do we want to look at it and saying, you know, how is this helpful? How you know,
And what's causing it?
what's causing
Try
it?
to get to the
What's under
base of what is causing this, and how can we make it better for myself, for us, for others. So so, and I guess back to that, when you think about it, that, and we've been talking about that a fair amount lately, the golden circle, which is the why are you doing this? And then the what and the how follow underneath that or around that, however you want to place it. And I'm finding so much, not just as an educator, as a mom, as a wife, as family, if you can get into that golden circle, it all comes back to, well, you know, like, who's the head of the golden circle? It's God. And so everything filters back to that way, and the balance of emotions and stuff like that. I think a lot of in our life has been taken care of without us even knowing. But yes, in practical terms, I think it is that what and how, and you ask those questions and you're curious about that. I don't know.
Wow.
No,
Wow.
I would agree.
Wow. Thank you so much. I think I like the analogy you brought in, the golden circle, God, and you know, in the midst of the three chord, God in the center, and the two of you, and you know, it makes it more good and and easy to sail through the journey. And I like another thing you said is the why question. The why am I doing this? Why? I think the why kind of puts us personally too on check, because most times it helps us to check, okay, why am I hungry at this? Why is this issue coming up? And I think that self-perception too helps, when we question our mind, question our decision, we question our reaction, it helps us to balance those two angles of, okay, and to help us to sail through communication issues. Um, so we'll still go back to that question again. I just wanted us to bring out some of these things in communication, and just, there's something I noticed, and I would like you to also elaborate on this. It's the issue of the personality of of the two people involved,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and the much and how much it plays in communication. What do I mean by that? You have a partner that loves to communicate, wants to talk about everything, wants to express himself or herself, wants to speak about it. Let's address this issue now. And you have the other party, they're just like, okay, can we just take a break now? When the time is right, we'll come back to it. How do we manage the two? How do two people, because marriage, I don't know how God did it, but I've heard that opposite attracts. Opposite always opposite attract. And when you have two different people attracting, it will be difficult to communicate. You see the other person say it's A, and the other person is like, no, it's not A, it is B. And you're like, why are you not getting it? It's A, it's not A, it's B. Okay, how do you make A and B come together to the middle, that they become A B, so that they will not be having communication issue? I don't know if I'm saying what you've experienced over the years.
I get to this time. Oh, yeah, when we were dating, as you say, AB, right? As we were dating,
Yes.
we'd be driving, and I'd be looking out the windows, and I don't know, maybe that's a residual from yet way back in my childhood, eh? When we would drive around the country. But anyway, and Gord would say to me, "What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about?" That was his typical. What are you thinking about? Do you remember that? And not that I was super introverted, because I wasn't, I don't think.
Wow.
But I liked my thinking time. And he'd say, "What are you thinking about?" And I think I laugh, because I think, well, yeah, he somehow we we got some symbiosis there, where he realized, what's she thinking about? I have to pay attention to what she's thinking about. I don't know. I don't know.
now it's my
Now
turn.
it's your turn.
Now it's my turn. So, Abby, here are some of the pieces to the recipe. First thing we have to recognize, you're right, opposites do attract. And the fact of the matter is,
No.
she's from Venus, I'm from Mars.
No.
So, having said that, she's a woman.
That's very stereotypical now.
She's a woman, I'm a man. No, the point of the matter is that I think one of the things for sure has come to the forefront is that internally, between us, we may agree to disagree, okay? Yet at the same time, one will be really good about it and saying, okay, I don't agree with you, but at the same time, if you feel that this is what we should do, I'll go with it, I'll support you, but I really don't agree, but let's go ahead. And I try and reciprocate the same thing, saying, you know what?
I was just going to ask you, do you do that?
So having said that, there may be times where, I would say, I still need to do this tonight. Okay, yes, it's 11 o'clock tonight. I still need to do this one more task. She'll say to me, all right, I don't agree with you doing it at 11 o'clock at night. I think we should be in bed and we should be asleep. But if you feel this needs to get done, I'll help you, I'll support you, let's get it done and let's carry on. And she's good about it. She won't come back to it and saying, yeah, so now you owe me because 11 o'clock at night, you're still doing this task and and now you owe me. She doesn't keep track and a record and so on. At least I haven't found where the scorecard is yet. But anyway.
Back at you, because you told that for me.
So
it's been.
I think it's just then that mutual respect and understanding that we agree to disagree, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that we can't carry on. It's just acknowledging that and looking for that clarity and saying, all right, so be it. And to me, that there is no real big mystery there. It's more about that when in doubt, do that perception check and try to fully understand what's going on as compared to making some assumptions.
But for me, Abaddon, I think it comes back to, as I say, he'd ask me, what are you thinking? For me, it's back to, we made a commitment to each other. And I think that commitment was super, super sincere. We were fortunate enough, we did the traditional vows, but we also got to add our own vows to that. And we've lived that, and we've been blessed to be able to, on our wedding vows, to go back, because we do them every year.
Wow.
To go back and look at them and say, yes, God has been true to us, and we have been true to what we've put into our vows, and it's to the best, I guess, to the best of our understanding. And yes, there's weaves and there's that winding ways through those paths, but it's been the commitment. The commitment has always been there to each other, and God has always brought us back to that commitment, and we brought ourselves to that commitment. And yeah, faith is a huge piece in our life. Whatever your faith is, believe in something bigger than yourself and yourselves, because if you don't, I don't know how you make it. I don't know how you make it through in a life. I really don't. And we're, where we live, we've got creme de la creme. We don't have the wars and the tragedies and all of that people have to live through. Our life is very, very cushioned. So, yeah.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that piece of faith that you brought in it, because God is the center point of any successful marriage. I don't know how you want to do it. Once God is there, it makes every other thing easier. Once God is at the centerpiece of any marriage, which is faith, it makes it great and wholesome.
But don't you think that?
Another thing.
Do you not think that's the center point to other relationships then too?
That's a good question.
I think.
Yeah. So that's so true.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. Because anything God is involved in is always successful, even if you go through the bend and high and lows. Because God is in it, He stabilizes that boat even in the midst of the tough time.
Yep.
You're so right. I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah.
God for me is everything. So I share that much. Thank you for reminding us that again. Now, I want to ask another question. We're still going back to that examples but we're just touching, because these issues are very important. Is the fact, and that's the fact that please, if you're listening to us and you have any question, please send in your question in the comment section, and we'll ask our guest, and we'll ask them as well too. Now, how affirmation of your other partner, even if you don't understand, how much does it play? What do I mean by affirmation of your other partner? It could be, for example, maybe dad is talking to you, man, he's saying something you don't understand, but you're still able to affirm him that, okay, no problem. Because sometimes it's not that the other partner don't understand, and the other partner is just trying to, yes, I don't understand, what are you saying? How much does affirmation play? Like, even though you don't know what your partner is saying, should you affirm them like, okay, yes, okay, no problem. Is that it? Okay, fine. Or should you object them and try to make them see the truth? Because in between that, I feel there could be a miscommunication. I don't know if that question is clear to you, but just that how much does affirmation of what your partner is saying, even though you know that you don't understand what they're saying, but you're trying to understand what they're saying, how much does it play in trying to uncover the issue so that you understand them better, rather than setting up a brick wall that I don't understand, and if you cannot explain to me clearly that I don't know if my question is clear.
No, I think one always needs to be flexible. I recall, was it rigid, backbone, and what was the third one? Just laissez-faire. You need to be flexible. Jellyfish was the third. That was the three that we used to go by. And it's important to be that flexible piece as you try to understand and affirm, but also educate, because I truly may not understand it. Like, I've learned a lot through Gord, through his work over the years, and now as he moves into this new position with the cultural backgrounds and that sort of thing, it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting, because that's something that really I wasn't exposed to a lot. Yes, I worked in education, but not in a lot of different ethnicities, and so know a little bit about his culture and some of the things that came from his culture. But certainly, if he doesn't educate me, and I can't think I know everything about everything, because I don't know what I don't know. So we're here to inform each other, to affirm each other, and to do that gently, I think, always.
Gently.
I think part of that also, just to complement what Gwen is saying, is that even though I may not understand, is just to affirm that I hear you asking a question. I may not have a response for you. I may not even know what you're talking about. At the same time, I did hear that you were trying to express something to me. So I'm acknowledging that, okay, I know you wanted me to understand, to respond to a question, to whatever the case may be. Even though I'm not be prepared or understanding, it's that you start with that acknowledgement, and it's part of that affirmation by offering that acknowledgement that, as compared to, yeah, whatever, no, I do care. I do try to understand. At the same time, I would have to also say that I may have to take the opportunity and saying, you know what, I can't respond to that right now because something else has got my attention. And an easy one is that if I drink too much coffee and we're talking, and all of a sudden I'm saying, you know what, nature's calling, I've got to go. There is no option here. I've got to go because it's not going to be good if I don't. At the same time, it's not disrespectful to her. It's just, I've got to do this. I'll be right back.
Well, and when we don't know, it's search it out. Who can we find that can help us to search it out? Where can we find the help that we need, or the avenue that we need to get to the next spot that we know we need to get to, or that we don't even know we need to get to? So sometimes that whole piece is moving forward in that search process too.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma. Another question, and thank you for that. That just try it, even if you don't understand. Just okay, just let the person know that yes, you can still hear them. Now, and the question now is, how do in your journey, has there been a point whereby you were trying to communicate to each other, but the other person was not understanding what you were saying? Because I know communication takes a process. You send the message, the sender sends the message to the person that receives it. Now, have you been to a point in your journey, your marital journey, whereby you were trying to communicate something to the other person and the person was not getting it enough, was not just getting it. Like, this is what I'm saying, but the, maybe Sahoma, you were just not getting each other. And how did you handle that situation? Because if mom is trying to tell dad something and dad is not understanding, and and she's still trying to make it, this is what I'm trying to say. Have you been in that situation before? And how did you manage it? Did you give time for the other person to understand, or how did you have you been there before, and how did you manage it?
Well, on a particular vacation, I can think, and Gord wasn't understanding what I was trying to say, and it was going back and forth, and I finally just said, I think we need to pull the car over to the side, and we need to talk about this. And I think we ended up going outside the car and getting some fresh air. And then we could come back
Wow.
to the car and carry on with our journey, to where we were traveling to. But we just needed a whole, like, it's good to talk in the car, but no, we just have to pause, press pause, physically move out of this space, and
Talk about.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, very, very much so. Because I think part of that also is that some of it is situational. Um, Situational in the sense that uh, the other person may have something else on their mind and may not be able to receive the message, and that's okay. And if they've got something else on their mind, just accept that and saying, unless it's time sensitive, in the sense that um, here we are. We're at an intersection in the highway. Are we going left or right? Well, the best thing I can think of is not that a person should be overly concerned about it, but I also think that there's an opportunity for a little bit of foresight, or being a little bit proactive. Proactive in the sense that um, right now there's a good example. The analogy for us is that we have a contractor who's going to come in and do a little bit of work for us, but it's the COVID health measures are here. So rather than
Mm.
just waiting to see how this is going to happen, we're saying to him, okay, when you arrive in our home, can we expect that you're going to wear a mask? Are you going to be sanitizing your hands as you enter our home? All those questions, if you get ahead of it, as compared to him showing up Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock,
Mm.
and he's not wearing a mask, and no, he doesn't want to sanitize his hands, and so on and so on, you may develop those tensions, which could have been totally prevented. Because just be ready for understanding the situation you're entering into, because that's what this is all about. And I think that
Mm.
I'm not always good at that, but you try and envision what this is going to look like, and it's part of that communication process, because um, it could really lead to some big tensions, because um, you're just not prepared.
Mm.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to flex it out, and forgiveness. Like, it's just that,
Mm.
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. Um, okay, we can get back in the car now. I really didn't mean it in a bad way or a mean way. It's just I needed to understand that. So, and some
Wonderful.
things just need to be
Wonderful.
understood.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I think one thing I've learned is the fact that one thing I've left for our discussion is the fact that no disagreement or miscommunication should go for too long.
Right.
Couples should be able to settle it as soon as possible so that it won't give room for other things. Another question I would like to ask is the fact that how much has playing to each other's strength helped you in having a good communication? What do I mean by each other's strength? We said the other time that opposites attract. And, for example, you have someone who is more listening, you have the other person who is more communicating. How much have you played to each other's strength? How much, no, not play, how much have you used each other's strength? Okay, one person is better listener. Okay, one person is a more better, can analyze the situation better. Maybe one person is more analytical, the other person is more listening. If you bring the two together, okay, I will listen to you. Okay, let's analyze the issue and you work together. How much has each, harnessing the strength of each of you helped in ensuring a better communication?
I think it's also part of that is just not only the understanding, but the appreciation of the other person's skill set, and saying, you know, um, for me, an easy working example is that um, when we're cooking a meal together, and I'm not really sure. Well, I know she's got better skills than me, so why wouldn't I defer to her and saying, so what do you think here? What should we do? And that works out rather than saying, no, no, go away, I've got this. That doesn't prove anything. And at the same time, you look and saying, well, and if she doesn't know, well, then we'll work at it together. And together is better because two heads are better than one. And I think it's just that acknowledgement that if Gwen's got, a better understanding or a stronger skill set or something to offer to what we're dealing with, let's have it. Otherwise, it's part of the full conversation, from the perspective that you got to be open to what's around you, from the point of view that you know here's an easy one. We were experiencing some car difficulty several years ago. Gwen's father was a mechanic. She worked in a garage with her father and so on. She had some understanding of engines and so on, which makes it an easy conversation, saying that, I think it's this, this, and this. And she'll say, yeah, okay, I understand that. Sure, let's do that. As compared to, well, I don't know, just go fix it. And there's other times where she'll say to me, is it the foo-foo valve that's not working in the car? And I just get the message from her. She said, it's just basically, I don't understand, but it's okay. Just go fix it and it'll be all right. I don't need to fully understand everything that's going on.
Yeah, humor is a big piece, and Gord's great at that. Like he's great at his humor piece. I think when our boys were younger, and I was tied to a school system in a classroom, I wasn't able, or I didn't take the opportunity to book a lot of time off to take the boys to the different things they had to go to. So if it was a doctor's appointment, or if it was a music lesson, or it was here, there, wherever, Gord took that time out of his job to go do that. And I sometimes think that may have pulled back opportunities for him that were greater in leadership, because he was busy building family. We were busy building family together. And he honored that I had the strength to be an educator and that I loved to do that. And so when he loved what he was doing too, and he got to do that in his, but you definitely pulled that, because I didn't pull out of my profession that way. So I could enhance my profession. He carried on too. We did it tandem. And there came a point in the last years where my profession really, the time that I put into it, Gord really supported that wholeheartedly. And so the late nights and stuff like that, he was there contributing and being there for me, staying there for me. So as my strength in that area increased, he backed me up, and vice versa through our lives together. And it just seemed like we knew when the other needed to do that, and we were open to supporting the other in those ways. So Gord's strength of working in government for now, like all his strengths, are really contributing to the different things that are happening in my family right now as we move forward after the passing of my dad. So his strengths are really being pulled there, as well as to his work.
And there's a reciprocity there,
yeah,
because
that's
in that reciprocity, there were things that were going on in my career that sometimes took me away from home.
Yeah.
And I'd be gone for a week, and Gwen would make sure that everything is maintained appropriately, where the children are getting to school, they've got clothing, there's meals on the table, and so on. And I mean, from the perspective that she was sincerely concerned about ensuring that the boys and us had good meals, and they were nutritious, and they would satisfy what the demands of the day were there, as compared to just ignoring and just saying, no, you're going to have to, everybody cope on their own. And there were times where I was away for a long time, a week. I'd be away on a particular project or a program, and I'd come back, and there would be always this positive, welcoming home, and everything is in order, everything's okay. I didn't have to worry that, oh my goodness, what's going to be happening. And at the same time, there are those unexpected experiences where, while I'm away, Gwen would tease me and saying, well, of course you're away, and look what's happening.
it always did.
Look what happened. This is happening. Of course you're not here. And I said, well, of course I'm not. I planned it that way. Of course, I'm joking. I didn't plan it that way. If anything, we try to prevent that. At the same time, it's inevitable. It'll happen.
It just reminded me how important he was in our lives, I think.
So, I looked at that and saying, and it's all that reciprocity, because for sure, there are things that come up in life that aren't anticipated, and I go with confidence that when Gwen says to me, it's okay, I've got this, I don't have to doubt it. She's got it, she'll look after it, and it'll be all right. And we carry on. And there have been those times where I've had to just say, all right, I know you can do this, I trust you, and it'll be all right. And it's worked out every time.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Wow. Wow, I've learned so much. And I'll just summarize everything. Then I'll do ask our final question, is the fact that self self-reflection is really important to ensure good communication. Patience to listen to each other is very important. Affirming the other person if you don't know what the person is saying is important. The fact trust is also very, 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 very important. And that ability to just give each other that room to be yourself, and also drawing each other's strength is also highly, 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 highly important. The final question is this: what would your marriage is a wonderful example. 4 decades and still counting. What would be your advice that you give to younger couples out there to ensure a better communication? That to what would be your advice to them, that okay, these are some of the lessons you have learned personally, and you like to pass it on to some of us, that or those of us coming behind, that okay, what do I mean, maybe it's part of the mistake you've learned, that you said, oh okay, this is because of this. What are the lessons that you would like to give to younger couples coming behind, that okay, for you to have a better communication, do this, do this, do this, do this, from what we have learned in our own journey?
It's a very good question, Abidan, and I think it's an important question. But what goes with that question, so much of it is situational. Along with it, I think a person should take the opportunity as well as the courage that if you're not sure, look for the clarity. Don't be afraid to ask the question. Along with that, it's in the, as our one son says, it's the test of metal. It's in those difficult situations where the metal is really tested and you say, okay, I'm not really sure. This is a really difficult situation. We find ourselves at a point where a decision has to be made. I would really like to know, what you're thinking, what your perspective, what are your suggestions. At the same time, I have to also be open that Gwen may say to me, well, what are you thinking? Why are you asking me? I want to know what you're thinking, and I'll be able to give you a response. And I think it's in that reciprocity that you may say, well, I'm not really sure what to think, because an easy working example is one has to recognize that some of this stuff, as I say, is situational. For instance, I have to be comfortable with the fact that our granddaughter, who is 14, as a young girl and woman, she may want to talk to her grandmother about a specific female issue. And that's okay. I don't need to be part of it. At the same time, I'm prepared to support it and saying, if there's something I can do to help or assist, I need to understand, and I'll try my best. And vice versa. Gwen's been very good where, you know, if this is a boy thing or a male thing, you guys work this out. I'm not really sure, but she's been supportive, and that's the thing I like. And it's in that full discussion that a person comes to understand that the communication subject area is got so many variables in it that it's not as simple as, you know, not as simple as baking a cake. You bake a cake, you pull out the recipe, you pour in the ingredients, put it in the oven, you have a cake. With communication, that's not the case, because there are so many variables. A woman, a man, you know, different ideas, different perceptions, grew up in two different households, two different streams of education, two different streams of cultural background. Along with that, her professional experiences are totally different than my professional experiences. Yet at the same time, we share those and saying, okay. And it's along with that, it may be as simple as cherishing a moment. And an easy working example, one of the projects that Gwen used to work on with her students, were in grade 1, is at Easter time, just before Good Friday and the Easter Triduum and so on. She had this school project that became somewhat of a tradition, where we would go out and harvest some young willow branches and cut them up into pieces, and then we would take and tie those pieces in to make them into small crosses. Well, I would have to be truthful in saying there was one particular opportunity where, when we were collecting these willow branches, I ended up stepping in some slough water and getting my shoes all wet. I was not a happy camper. And then we were cutting up these branches. It was getting late, and this project had to be done, and so on and so on. Well, we succeeded in doing the project, but where the real joy and fulfillment came out from that project is we were participating in a citywide project in downtown Regina on Good Friday, where they were doing what's called the Stations of the Cross, but they were using urban examples of the different 12 stations of the cross. And as we were walking around, one of her students showed up carrying his little cross. And I thought, well, what? For all of the negativity that I was upset about, it went out the door. Well worth it, because I see this little boy carrying this cross, and I know it's from her classroom, and he's so proud and he's carrying it. This is what this is all about. There was nothing for me in there in personal gain, if anything. So I unfortunately stepped in the water. So what? My shoes will dry. The beauty of it is that this little boy, whatever happens in his life, he had that experience, and I could share in that experience. And it was all about the faith. And you stop and saying, well, that's one of the wonderful things about Gwen and I. Very early in our relationship, we talked about religion. We talked about what this would look like for our children and ourselves, and how this would play out, and so on, as compared to, and I go back to the recipe of making a cake. It's not as simple as pulling a recipe and saying, this is how it's going to work. You both have to work at it. Am I talking?
I think, Abaddon, My first thought was we did an engaged encounter and we did a marriage encounter. And in marriage encounter, we had a 90-90. And part of the 90-90 is, what would you do without your partner? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm 10 years married, maybe. What would I do without my partner? That really draws you together to that person. And then, so that was my first thought. And my second thought is, and then I thought, I just stumbled across this on the internet the other day, and it was a young couple, and they said they're called the electric waffle. And they said every marriage prep should require a couple to do a podcast together. And I laughed. I burst out laughing because I thought, Gord and I doing a podcast together, that would be total disaster. That would be just disaster. But, and then as Gord's talking, I thought, you know what it is? You know what communication is? It's really about having fun together. It's no matter what you do. If you're baking the cake or you're going out to help, as Gord did with so many projects, as you're doing things with the kids, like I think it's once those hands get busy doing, then the fun enters, the communication happens, and you don't, that's what COVID has really done, is really bogged down everything because we can't do a lot out. So you have to look for things to do with the, so fun is do something, have fun together. When all else fails, go do fun. Do something together, something that will create.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. What a good way to summarize it. Communication is having fun together and enjoying while doing whatever you're doing together.
Yeah, create.
Ooh.
Yeah, create together.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Wow, a whole lot of points, a whole lot of lessons, and to everyone watching, I hope you've learned one thing or the other, that there's no way to communication. You just have to work it out together. I learned that, every couple out there, find what works best for both of you and put it to practice, and you will see that you're going to have a wonderful, wonderful. And again, too, I think one thing I wanted to sound is, is that couples should stop comparing each other. What's working for one person might not be working for your own, might not be working for you. So please don't compare, but find what works to you and enjoy working together. Be free to talk about everything as much as you can, and be the best of friends. That's one thing I've learned from both of you.
Yeah.
Be the best of friends, and you enjoy in fact, when you're friends, when you're getting more closer as friends, I think the communication will get better. And wow, it's been a whole lot of points. Clarity, self-reflection, and on like that.
Well,
thank you so much, Dad and Mom. I really appreciate this opportunity. I will have to sit down and listen to this again and take the points and use them. I really had a wonderful time. Thank you so much. On behalf of the entire team, we say thank you. We've learned a lot. And happy 42 years. Wow. I want to be like you.
No,
I'm looking forward to that time when I'll be counting you. But, wow.
Thank you
so
much.
I celebrate you. I celebrate you. Thank you so much for coming.
We've gained so much too. So
thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Prayer now.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night rest. God bless you. And to everyone that joined, thank you so much. I hope you've learned one thing or the other. And please, we'll continue this series next week. Another couple discussing wonderful topic. Have a wonderful week. And don't forget to be a blessing to someone out there this week. Live and be a blessing. God bless us all. Have a wonderful night rest and have a wonderful week.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Sanma. God bless you. Everyone, bye-bye. Peace.
Bye-bye.